Today, I am reviewing the BOSGAME E2 Mini PC. If at any time you'd like to explore this product for yourself and grab it at a great price, be sure to check the links below the video. If you are looking for a way to clear the clutter off your desk without sacrificing the power you need to get your daily work done, you have probably been staring at these tiny, palm-sized computers for a while now. I have been putting the BOSGAME E2 Mini PC through its paces for the last few weeks, and I want to be completely honest about what this machine actually is, and more importantly, what it is not. You can check the links below the video if you want to see the current pricing or explore the technical specifications yourself, but keep in mind that the numbers on a spec sheet do not always tell the whole story when you are actually sitting down to get real work finished. Let's start with the heart of the machine, which is the AMD Ryzen 5 3500U processor. Now, I need to be clear right out of the gate that this is not a brand new, bleeding-edge chip. It is an older architecture, which is exactly why this device is priced as aggressively as it is. In my testing, I found that for standard office tasks, think dozens of browser tabs, heavy Excel spreadsheets, and constant video conferencing, it performs perfectly fine. It stays snappy, and the 16 gigabytes of RAM that come pre-installed really make a massive difference. I rarely felt like I was waiting for the computer to catch up to my clicking. However, if you are looking for a machine to handle heavy video editing, high-end 3D rendering, or the latest AAA gaming titles, you're going to be disappointed. This is a productivity box, not a workstation for content creators or hardcore gamers. The 512GB NVMe SSD is a welcome inclusion, and it definitely contributes to the fast boot times I experienced. It is refreshing to see a budget-oriented mini PC come with enough storage to actually be useful out of the box without needing an immediate upgrade. That said, if you do decide you need more space or more memory down the line, the internal design is actually quite accessible. I opened the chassis up to see how difficult it would be to get to the SODIMM slots, and it is a straightforward process. If you ever feel like pushing that RAM up to the 32GB limit, it is a very doable DIY project even for someone who isn't a professional technician. You can find the links below this video to check the current pricing on these units if you want to see if the value proposition makes sense for your specific budget. One of the features that BOSGAME highlights is the triple screen output, and this is where the machine genuinely surprised me. Having two HDMI 2.0 ports and a USB-C port allows you to drive 3 displays at 4K resolution at 60 Hz. In a real-world office environment, especially if you are working with data, monitoring stock charts, or just juggling multiple documents at once, this is a game changer. I tested this with a 3-monitor setup, and while the integrated Radeon Vega 8 graphics are not going to win any frame rate awards in gaming, they handled the desktop environment, multiple windows, and 4K video streaming without any stuttering or lag. It is a very impressive display output configuration for a computer that fits in the palm of your hand. However, I do need to talk about the cooling and the noise levels, because this is where many mini PCs fail. The BOSGAME E2 does have an active cooling system, and for the most part, it is quiet. During light tasks, you will barely notice it is running. But when I push the processor with long-duration tasks or heavy multitasking, the fan definitely kicks into a higher gear. It is not an annoying, high-pitched whine, but it is a consistent hum. If you are someone who works in a dead-silent room, you will hear it. It is not a deal-breaker by any means, but it is worth noting if you are sensitive to fan noise. The thermal management seems solid, as I did not experience any significant thermal throttling that would cause the system to crash or freeze, but it does run a little warm to the touch after a few hours of consistent load. Connectivity is another area where this machine tries to do a lot, and for the most part, it succeeds. You get 4 USB ports, which is usually plenty for a keyboard, mouse, printer, and an external drive. Having the RJ45 Ethernet port is a massive plus for those of us who prefer a wired connection for stability during video calls or large file transfers. I tested the Wi-Fi and Bluetooth 5.0 capabilities as well, and I found the range to be perfectly adequate for a standard home or office layout. I did not experience any drops in connection with my wireless peripherals, which is a common frustration with some of these budget-friendly mini PCs. If you are curious about the specific connectivity options for your desk setup, feel free to use the links below to check out the details on the product page. Now, who is this actually for? I think the ideal buyer for the BOSGAME E2 is someone who needs a dedicated machine for home office, a student who needs a reliable computer for research and writing, or a business owner looking for a cost-effective way to outfit a workspace. It is also a fantastic option for someone who wants a media center PC for their living room, given its ability to handle 4K streaming and its small, unobtrusive footprint. If you are looking for a machine that can be tucked behind a monitor using a VESA mount, this is exactly the kind of device that makes that possible. On the flip side, who should avoid this? If you are a gamer, do not buy this expecting to play the latest games. The Vega 8 graphics can handle some light indie titles or older games on lower settings, but it will struggle with anything modern or graphically demanding. Likewise, if you are a professional photographer or video editor, the processor limitations will eventually become a bottleneck for you. You would be much better off investing in a dedicated workstation or a laptop with a discrete GPU. Also, if you are a power user who runs virtual machines or heavy development environments, you might find the Ryzen 3500U a bit long in the tooth compared to the latest generation of mobile processors. I also want to touch on the software side of things. It comes with Windows, but the fact that it is officially supported for Linux and Ubuntu is a huge win for the developer crowd. I ran a live instance of Ubuntu on it just to see how the drivers would hold up, and everything was detected without any headache. If you are a developer looking for a cheap, low-power server or a secondary machine for coding, this is a surprisingly capable little box. The 1-year warranty is standard, but the promise of lifetime technical support is something that you should take with a grain of salt. While it is a nice sentiment, the quality of that support can vary, so definitely rely on your own ability to troubleshoot common PC issues if you are leaning toward this purchase. When it comes to value, this is where the BOSGAME E2 really makes its case. You are getting a complete, ready-to-run system for a price that is often less than what you would pay for a mid-range motherboard and processor combo alone. The value is not in the absolute performance, but in the convenience and the space savings. You are paying for a compact, pre-configured solution that works right out of the box. If you're the type of person who enjoys building their own PC from scratch, you might find this boring or limiting, but if you just want a computer that works, takes up zero desk space, and handles all your daily tasks, the price-to-performance ratio is quite compelling. Use the links below to check the current price, because these mini PCs often go on sale, and catching one at a discount makes this an even easier recommendation. One of the things that I think people often overlook with these mini PCs is the power consumption. Compared to a full-size desktop tower, the E2 is incredibly energy efficient. If you are someone who keeps their computer running all day for work, you will notice a difference in your power usage over time. It is a small detail, but it contributes to the overall practicality of the device. It is a set-it-and-forget-it kind of machine. I have had it running for several days straight without a single reboot, and it stayed consistent. I do want to mention a potential disappointment for some users, which is the lack of Thunderbolt support. While the USB-C port is great for display output, it does not offer the high-speed data transfer or external GPU support that you would get from a true Thunderbolt 3 or 4 port. If you are hoping to hook up an external graphics card dock, you are out of luck here. It is important to manage your expectations regarding the expandability of the ports. You are limited to what is provided on the chassis. Overall, the BOSGAME E2 is a solid, honest piece of hardware. It doesn't pretend to be something it isn't. It is a workhorse for the average user who needs a computer for productivity, media, and general web browsing. It is built well enough that it doesn't feel like a toy, but it is priced low enough that you don't feel like you are overpaying for brand name premiums. If you are looking to declutter your desk and you don't have a need for heavy-duty processing power, this is a very practical choice. Take a look at the links below to see if it fits your specific requirements, and make sure to read the user reviews on the product page as well to see how other people are using theirs. It is always a good idea to get a second or third opinion before pulling the trigger on a tech purchase. In closing, if you decide to go with the BOSGAME E2, just remember to keep your expectations aligned with the hardware inside. It is a 3500U processor, which is a reliable, proven chip, but it is not a speed demon. Treat it as a capable office assistant, and you'll be happy with the performance. Treat it as a gaming rig, and you'll be frustrated. It is all about how you plan to use it in your day-to-day life. I have found it to be a dependable companion for my own light office work and web research, and for that purpose, it earns a thumbs up from me. If you have any specific questions about how it handles a certain type of software or a specific peripheral, feel free to drop a comment, but otherwise, check the links below to get started.